Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. Welcome and good morning. He is Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. So, I just found this. This came out certain about 8 o'clock last night from NBC News.
All right.
And we got to bring it up because yesterday, what you were getting from the White House is, this is horrible because President Biden has been a complete victim in this. He is completely helpless to do anything on the border. He was totally relying on Congress to give him any kind of authority, whatsoever, because he's just been completely helpless on this because Congress has not acted, which we all know is a lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
He created this. He could stop it. Now, this is amazing after yesterday of listening to all that from the White House, because this came out from NBC. The Biden administration is considering executive action to deter illegal migration at the southern border. I can't make this up. With border security legislation unlikely in Congress, the White House wants to take action. Migrant crossings are expected to soar back to last year's record levels. And this came out at 8:15 p.m. last night, so the bill was already defeated. The Biden administration is considering taking executive action to deter illegal migration across the southern border, according to two U.S. officials. As passing legislation on border security in Congress appears unlikely, the plans under consideration signal that the White House wants to take action before numbers at the border, which have dropped in the past month, rise again as expected. The plans have been under consideration for months. The officials said.
How many months, Gary? Would that be 36 months? Like 3 years, more than 1,000 days?
Wow. In December, as Congress prepared to leave town for the holidays with no border solution, illegal crossing at the southern border hit records of more than 10,000 per day. The unilateral measures under consideration might upset some progressives in Congress.
Oh, really?
The officials said, but they noted that Democratic mayors who have asked for more help from the federal government to handle the influx of migrants in their cities would be pleased. The measures are still not drafted and are not expected to take place anytime soon.
All right, then.
So like we have stated, the president, now NBC is admitting that the president has not been helpless in this situation. It just takes away that argument. That's why I think that a lot of, especially on, again, I don't take it as too seriously on social media, but a lot of the a lot of people on the right, Republicans, whatever, were saying, "Oh, Republicans are going to lose the political argument now." And I went, "No, they're not.
No, they're not. No, they're
not.
No, they're not. Argue the facts. Lay it out the way we've laid it out, the way that Senator Ted Cruz has laid it out." And I think because when you say, well, they've given the advantage to the Democrats, no, passing that heaping, steaming pile into law would have created a permanent hole in the border. No, absolutely not. That is, we've criticized Republicans for not being able to get the message across. This is not a failure of the GOP in the Senate. Now, there were a number of missteps. I still have a lot of questions for Lankford. But the American people, you could tell things were changing. Think about that. What was it? You go back to Lankford's 2 appearances on a Sunday morning. He did a Fox News Sunday and Face the Nation. And, these are just internet rumors about the bill. And then everybody screamed, and we were part of that. Okay, you can solve that by releasing the bill. Show us the bill. Let us see what's in it. You keep saying these things are false. But and by the way, who was it? Was it Langford that said, now it does give discretion, boom, and we stopped. I think you stopped the audio cut right there. It's like, there you have it. Discretion is that key word. Because that means they get to decide.
Right.
And
the problem is not the text of the legislation that might sound good.
Right, the parts of it that might sound okay.
That might sound okay, and that's the direction we should be going in.
Right.
It doesn't matter what's in the bill as long as this president has the discretion to follow it or not.
Right.
End of story.
Right.
Because for, I think it's 3 years. 3? Yeah, I think it might be 3 years.
More than 3 years.
It might be more than 3 years.
It's
more than 1,000 days.
1,000 days.
By the way, we're just quoting Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday when Pete Ducey confronted her, and said, why are you blaming Republicans? Day one, it was all Democrats in office.
Yeah.
Why are you blaming Republicans?
Right.
And that's what she said. Well, it's been 3 years, Peter. It's been 3 years, more than 3 years.
No.
It's as she was stalling 1,000 days. It's
that's 1,000 days.
No.
It's not quite 4 years.
Right.
It's more than 2 years. It's not a decade. A decade is 10 years, as we all know.
But if Biden does this, any type of executive order to stop it, he just makes Republican points.
Yeah.
Well, we told you he could do it. We told you he could do it. Now, will he fully do what's needed? No.
No,
I don't believe he will. But the fact is, they're not. If they thought they were winning the message, and they could get, think about this, and they could get just as many illegal immigrants turned into temporary migrants, which means you're technically legal in the country.
Right.
If they could do it and they thought they had the win, that they could blame Republicans for it, do you think that the administration would be considering these laws at all if they thought they had the political win? No.
I really am curious to see what this move by the administration is going to be. But I'm with you. It's probably going to be something weak. It's like going after the enemy. Well, we didn't actually kill anyone. We didn't actually take any targets out, but, we did something. We did things and stuff.
I will say this, though, because when you just said things and stuff, I mean, it's the last couple of days with the last week with Biden has been horrible. I understand now.
No,
I understand now why the administration put him out with the helicopter even closer, so people really can't, discuss anything with him because he's getting bad.
Yeah,
he's getting, and that should worry every American because he's the guy in charge if we're attacked, or maybe he's not the guy in charge. If we if we get attacked, he actually is the person in charge. He's the only one that can make some of those decisions. And does he have the cognitive abilities? He was horrible. He's been horrible this week.
He's incapable as a commander.
He's been stumbling and mumbling and making no sense whatsoever and forgetting which foreign leaders are alive and dead. It's bad right now. It really, really is.
Yeah. Wow. I really hope he does take questions from the media today. I suspect he won't. But as you mentioned, there's nothing on the calendar. But much to the dismay of Van Jones, who said that they need, on CNN, who said, and a very liberal individual and former strategist, said they need to basically hide him in the basement again. They're not doing that. We're not going to see Joe Biden on a debate stage.
Well, I think it was CNN talking. I think John Nolte wrote about it yesterday in Breitbart about on CNN. And I just love it because I just found the article. He goes, during a segment on CNN's Doomed CNN this morning. Well, you saw the ratings had come out last week for him, and
Yeah.
They've done some shifting around and everything else.
Yeah.
But they said Selena Moshin, who identifies as Bloomberg's senior Washington correspondent, was asked about President Biden skipping what has become a traditional presidential interview prior to the Super Bowl. Him saying no to something that he's expected to do, a serious interview, he can really get his message out to an audience. Just sitting waiting for him, waiting for his message is telling, Motion added. Is it because he can't handle it? Is it because he can't handle it? Well, that's the thing right there. And it's not a serious interview.
Yeah.
And remember, I think the whole thing started with Obama, right? It started in 2009.
Yeah.
Remember?
Right.
And that was
It was an extension of his picks,
the brackets.
his brackets
Yes.
for NCAA.
Yeah.
And that was they were kind of capitalizing on that and the social media chatter surrounding that and response to that is like, okay, well, let's start doing a Super Bowl interview. Why not?
And the only time it got tough was for Trump.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But for Biden, you couldn't probably find a friendlier, because it's CBS, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
beyond CBS.
Yeah.
And you couldn't find a friendlier news organization to interview you. He can't handle it.
Why didn't they ask Taylor Swift to do the interview
with Joe Biden?
She would conduct the interview.
She'd conduct the interview.
Yeah. What's your favorite color? Mine's red. I mean, I know that's a Republican color and ew, but
I'm so happy I have to work Sunday night. I am so happy.
Yeah.
I'm so happy I don't have to go through the Super Bowl garbage. I mean,
I don't miss that at all.
Neither do I. I mean, I've not seen I figured out I've not seen a Super Bowl since. Let me see. I started on the show in 2005. Since 2007.
Okay. All right.
So this will really 17 years I haven't seen any. I haven't seen a play of the Super Bowl. No, I do remember when Pittsburgh won. I do remember seeing the last touchdown when Pittsburgh won and they scored that touchdown really, really late.
Right. Yeah.
That I remember. Other than that, I remember seeing the replay of that. Other than that, I haven't seen anything. I just haven't seen anything of it.
Yeah.
Once it's over, it's like I don't care. There's just so many things going on. By the time, with the news cycle, the last few years especially, by the time you get to Monday, it's like if the game's been the night before, it's like it's a whole new. That's done.
Oh yeah, that's
done.
old news. By the time we go on the air, yeah.
And we'll mention who wins, but it's like
and it's interesting to look at the breakdown of the audience, how many viewers they had, that kind of thing.
And, that's cool, yeah.
And also the business behind the ads and how advertising is changing, Bud Light, and how things are, and how consumers are responding, that kind of thing. What the NFL is doing and promoting as their cause, how they present, their games and the ultimate game, which is the Super Bowl. Those breakdowns are interesting because it is how we consume entertainment and the media. And it's all a part of that. So it's part of that public sentiment, even though it isn't.
Did you see that
completely politically driven?
That for the first time ever, all the major automakers will not be running an ad on the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Wow.
But something that I noticed? Now I watch a lot of streaming, but and I'm talking about regular streaming TV shows that are streaming instead of but. Every single ad I've seen the last couple of weeks has either been for an electric vehicle or a hybrid. Every single one.
Yeah.
And so if you're talking about advertising to a mass audience and you're trying to market hybrids, you're at a limited audience anyway.
Yeah.
You're at a limited audience that you're trying to convince. Is it worth spending whatever it is it $1 million? I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what the rates are.
But $1 million, is it to spend that type of money, or is it more advantageous? Because what was I watching? It happened yesterday. I was on a streaming channel. Oh, I know what it was. Because I started thinking of something else. I turned it on. It was actually Pluto, and it was Becker.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I went, okay, are they running, and these are all, high-end SUV hybrids. And as I'm watching Becker, I'm like, oh, they're targeting my age group.
Yeah. No, that's the move, is the new,
because
the OEMs are all saying now, oh, no, we believe the demand is the demand isn't with hybrids. You're pushing the hybrids to meet
you're pushing the hybrids,
fuel standards.
But if you're pushing the hybrids, it's an expensive vehicle. You're pushing it on high-income learners who would be older, who would be watching Becker.
Exactly.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
And then with the whole, with Becker, you ever see the show?
Yeah, Ted Danson.
Yeah, Ted Danson. Well, I mean, I think he's a genius in that role because I always thought after Cheers, okay, he typecast himself.
Right.
He's a completely different character and pulls it off. And I never watched it during its regular run. But I just wondered, did Ted Danson, did the writers have something there? Because he's angry about everything all the time. And I'm thinking, were these writers really ahead of what was coming? I mean, this is really, because if you think about it, on the show, he's a liberal.
Yeah.
He may take populist viewpoints against political correctness and wokeness and things like that. But remember, that show was done 23 years ago, 24. It was like 99 to 2004 or 5 or something.
Wow,
like
was
that.
it that long ago?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, but he's just so angry. I'm like, was he, did he have a crystal ball about the future? 86690 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
USDA's first forecast for 2024 farm income says in general, farmers are going to see their profits down from last year by a big amount, 24%.
There are numerous reasons or numerous factors contributing to the forecast decline in farm income.
USDA economist Carrie Lichowski gave us a few of those factors.
Cash receipts, both for crops and animal products, are forecast to decline in 2024. Government payments that go to farm operations are expected to decline as well. And production expenses are forecast to increase, which would pull down net income.
USDA projects those production expenses to rise by almost 4%, while cash receipts drop by 4%. The reason for that reduction in cash receipts:
lower prices for the commodities that farmers produce.
Even so, Letowski says the financial health of the farm sector is expected to remain strong. Farm asset value is growing faster than farm debt. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So I saw that NBC News story on Twitter. I'm just going through Twitter.
Yeah.
Excuse me, X. And one of the responses was, because this is what has anybody written a book of this is what happened inside the Biden administration? All the books written about Trump. I'd love to see a book about the Biden administration.
Well, they were writing the Trump books while Trump was still in office.
But here it is. This guy wrote this. He goes, January of 21 to 2024, the border is secure. February 1st through the 6th, I would secure the border if the Republicans would give me that power. February 7th. Well, actually, because the NBC story, in case you just tuned in right now, saying that the administration is considering executive orders in order to stop the flow at the southern border. After all you heard yesterday from Republicans on the White House is the president has been a helpless victim who has been able to do nothing unless the Republicans pass this legislation.
Right.
Wow, man.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio. from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Curley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Okay, a couple of other stories that we want to make sure we get your way. You knew this was going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
A women's collegiate volleyball game in Toronto, Canada became, male-dominated when the press covering the match revealed that 5 players were actually biological males who identified as transgender. Rebel News reporters attended the January 24th competition between the Centennial Colts and the Seneca Sting after receiving a tip that multiple transgender athletes were playing amongst the women, discovering that the males were definitely the dominant players on the court. Shocking video footage captured by the news outlet shows 3 males were playing for Seneca College while 2 were playing for Centennial College. The male players were always on the court, the reporter said in a video. So you have biological female substitutes just sitting on the bench for the entire game. The video shows trans players spiking the ball at big speeds, sending female players diving to the ground. Seneca, the team with more male players, won 3 out of the 5 matches. Centennial was just outmanned. While Rebel News was viewing and recording the event, security officers attempted to obstruct their camera and asked them to leave the college premises. They stood their ground and began questioning the transgender players on why they were taking away a real woman's sport. As the outlet reported, scholarships are available in the collegiate athletes for the collegiate athletes and could have been given to the man players who dominated the actual game. But you're going to see this as spreading out more and more and more as scholarships become available. That's where the incentive comes in. That's why economics has always said that where the transgender movement is going is to destroy women's sports.
Right.
Because once there's scholarships and paid positions, there are going to be males that are interested in, that's the incentive to continue in that direction.
Right.
And with the whole thing of the, you saw that the LPGA now is getting a little bit worried because since 2010, 2011,
right.
they've accepted, they've said they would accept transgenders. And now you have that one transgender golfer who apparently is winning tournaments in the lower level and will soon qualify. And once that happens, look, women's golf doesn't pay as much. You have men's golf paying $4 or $5 million if you win a tournament. It may only be $700,000-800,000 for the women, but if you look at that paycheck, a ton of women make a very, very good living on the LPGA Tour.
Right.
Maybe not to the level of the PGA, but it's sort of like the NBA versus the WNBA.
It's about the audience. It's about the sponsorships based on the audience and the participation.
Right.
And
it's about revenue.
It's about all of it comes down
right.
to what they're going to be able to make as a league.
And so now the fear is starting with the women's golfers. And this is again when they say, well, they're not going to try to dominate. Well, yeah, now we're seeing they are in major sports. Whether it's college sports or now threatening some female sports professionally. That's the point that we're getting to now. And we'll see how the LPGA responds. Well, here's the thing. College athletics, for the most part, all these college sports don't really make any money. They don't make money for the colleges. Football might at major colleges. Basketball might. But the rest really are taking money.
Mm-hmm.
And so the losses are what's going to matter whether it comes to women's sports in colleges. If men start getting involved in dominating, you're not going to have people willing to pay to see that happen. And and so that plus, as we have said before, that plus the trial lawyers
Right.
That's what's gonna change all of this
Right.
when all this is eventually challenged. But it really gets to the point of just being ridiculous. But as we started out on the show today, it's still, when you look at everything that's happened the last couple of days, and even Republicans saying, "Oh, Republicans are at a disadvantage." No, they're not.
No.
They can explain everything that happened here. And looking at that one story of the White House now. And remember, they were pounding yesterday that the president is this helpless victim who hasn't been able to do anything for 3 years.
Right.
And Karine Jean-Pierre was defending, no, he couldn't, no, sorry, no, just couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Democrats were in charge day one across the board.
Right.
Well, it doesn't matter. Republicans getting in the way. Republicans, he can't do anything. He can't do anything. And then the story from NBC at a little after 8 o'clock tonight saying, White House now considering executive action.
Right. Yeah.
So you look at the insane positions that they hold on the border, which really it was almost the insanity continued with saying, okay, but if 5,000 cross, well, then we're going to have to close the border.
Mm-hmm.
No, close the border.
Close the border.
Close the border. Do it right. There's nothing immoral or wrong with what we are proposing because we, like Trump when he argued with Jim Acosta the one time, he wasn't actually arguing with Acosta because Acosta wasn't listening to him. But when Acosta got kicked out, that whole thing, Trump was talking about the fact that we need legal immigration because we don't have the people. And
Right.
we don't have a baby boom anymore.
Right.
We don't have women coming into the workforce like they did. If you want economic growth, you're going to need people. You're going to have legal immigration. Now, the public isn't there yet.
Well, yeah, we're trying to
public
finish up
isn't-
the first part of it
Right.
in the grand debate.
But if you're not going to close the border, you don't have a chance of legal immigration being approved in this country.
By the way,
To a greater extent of legal
I
immigration.
prefer it to be the way it is now because it used to be almost a discussion in the abstract. Actually, it wasn't the abstract. It was, well, we can talk about amnesty, but first let's seal the border. Well, the American people right now are saying we're not even going to talk about visas or changing the visa program until we seal the border. We want the border sealed. The majority of the American people want the border secured. And that's a good thing because it's not about it used to be that it seemed like conservatives were the ones saying, back in that whole amnesty debate, nope, no amnesty until we can show that we can enforce the border. But now we're at the point where the American people are saying, nope, seal the border and get back to us later on even talking about visas.
Right.
Forget about amnesty. Right. Even talking about visas is not on the table until we solve this. And I think that's a good thing because it hopefully means there will be a push for the solution. We'll see.
Right.
Because
I think Republicans can simply sell. And you saw the Republicans, the senators, attacking their leadership, going, we don't know why our leadership is doing this. They're coming right out. And I'm going, that's how you be blunt. You're blunt in saying, we need new leadership. We need people that wish to actually secure the border here. And so just because McConnell did something does not mean it taints the entire Republican Party, who the vast majority of the Republican Party in Congress was against this bill.
Right.
And you look at the people that were for it, they've been in Congress for quite a long time and in the in the Senate. So you can still fight this. You fight it on the merits of everything that's going on. And then Biden, because you didn't do it, now is talking about, according to NBC News, talking about, okay, well, we got to put through some executive orders to stop what's going on at the border. Well, if that happens, that's another win for the Republicans.
Right.
And so on the transgender movement, I mean, that's the problem that they have. If you take, and we've taken this before and said, look, you can have compassion for the, for what it's called, gender dysphoria.
Right.
That it's called.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mental issue. Democrats admit it's a mental issue, that there are mental problems involved here. Why? Because it's Democrats who won't say, they won't come right out and tell you that a man can be a woman because a man says so. They'll say you have to agree with them because if you don't, they'll commit suicide.
They've said it repeatedly.
They have said it repeatedly. That's been the argument.
Yep.
They don't argue that you're wrong. They'll call you a transphobe. They'll call you names, but the names is based on the fact that you have no compassion because you wish to tell the truth, and compassion is lying. So these that transgenders won't attempt or successfully commit suicide.
Right.
That's their argument. And then if you say, well, then there seems to be a mental issue here, you're a bigot, you're a transphobe.
Right.
Well, you just said more people wish to commit suicide.
Right.
Well, yes, because they're upset of what you say about them. Well, if somebody wishes to commit suicide by something that I say, they have a mental challenge, a mental problem.
If you're asking a question out of a genuine concern for the issue, you're a transphobe.
Remember when, was it Hawley or Tom Cotton?
I was trying to think of
Asked
who it
that
was.
question to the Berkeley professor.
Yeah.
He was asking questions.
Yeah, just for asking a question.
And she said, well, that's transphobic and that's
Right.
bigoted. He goes, well, I'm asking questions about transgenderism.
Yeah.
Yes, and asking the questions upsets transgenders, and they may commit suicide because of what you're saying.
Right.
That was her response
Right.
to the senator. So we're not making up any of this. We're just observing what has happened. And I believe she was a professor from Berkeley there. So these are still the incredibly radical positions that the left holds, and Republicans can still make effective arguments against it. And even with the impeachment of Mayorkas, you can still, that it gives you the opportunity to still criticize him for what he is actually doing, and still talking about the fact that for how long he said the border is secure. So you know the administration's been pathologically lying about the situation at the border.
Right.
Until about 6 months ago, when I don't know if maybe Mayorkas wasn't making an appearance for a while, and so he didn't lie for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's one of the challenges. And finally, this story I do like. Animal rights organization PETA has urged the largest amusement ride manufacturer in Kansas to end the production and sale of animal-themed carousels. Children learn to play, and teaching them to have respect and compassion for all living, feeling beings can help create a more just and merciful world.
Oh, okay. Am I on the wrong carousel? Because is someone making carousels where you go on the carousel and it's a live animal, or are they making carousels where it depicts slaughtering the animal and eating it, or what's the problem with it again?
You ride a horsey?
Oh, what about unicorns? They're not even real. Well, maybe they're the left.
Oh,
so
wait
they
a
think
minute!
they're real.
In that Clint Eastwood movie, didn't the guy crash down into the carousel and fall onto a unicorn's horn?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, exactly.
That's the one where he's at that ocean town and he's
It's a great movie.
Everybody's trying to kill him and he gets out of there.
Yeah. It's maybe there's a carousel somewhere with real animals on it. I missed that when I was a kid. I didn't see it.
I have a question. How come there's not a cat carousel? All cats, big cats.
They don't have time for that. Cats are very busy individuals. And frankly, they don't want you messing with their stuff.
Does Peter realize that everybody uses every one of these stories? It's just pure entertainment.
It's a joke. It's just every time they issue any kind of concern, it just becomes a joke.
Remember beer over milk? Beer is healthier than milk.
Now, I'll tell you, on Frosted Flakes, that's true.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. And now it's the support the eligibility ruling for Trump. Trump's eligible to run for president.
Yes, he is.
I mean, it's just
insane.
It's stupid.
Right.
I mean, it's gotten to the point of being stupid.
Yep, it is.
To sit there and say, because of insurrection, there was no charge of insurrection in any case for any of the people
But I'm a
involved
judge,
in it whatsoever.
and I think it was insurrection.
Doesn't matter.
He wasn't convicted of it.
No.
He wasn't charged with it and convicted of it. And
if he was, you'd have a point.
If that were the case, now you've got a case.
Right. But if you had the point, who was the one to make him ineligible? Congress, not the states.
Right.
So there's two sections here.
Yeah.
There's the fact that he didn't commit. There's no evidence that it was an insurrection. And number two, even if it was, the law is clear. Congress deals with it, not the states individually.
Right.
This should be 9-0.
Right. No, you're right.
Unless
you've been saying that, I think, from the beginning since the whole Colorado thing.
I don't think it will be, but it should be.
It should be
9-0. Because it can't be clear under the Constitution.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.